From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
The sudden death of a Supreme Court justice has left questions about who will fill his place and how this impacts Supreme Court decisions.
Pope Francis is days away from his visit to the Mexican border. We traveled the streets of Juarez and El Paso to see how the historic visit is shaping up.
Any parent that would let their kid go back in shouldn't be a parent.
Why some parents have growing concerns over ice hockey and concussions.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Jackie Padilla.
And I'm Jessie Schultz. Thanks for joining us. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's death is creating major questions surrounding the nomination of a new Supreme Court justice in an election year. Reporter Sydney Glenn spoke with legal experts on what this could mean for the rest of this Supreme Court session.
The longest the Supreme Court has gone without a full bench is 391 days. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's sudden death at a Texas ranch has left many people with questions.
Any standard, Justice Scalia was one of the most significant justices in the history of the Supreme Court.
This coming during an election year makes the replacement even more controversial.
If a Democrat makes the appointment, you will be having, for the first time in many years, a president of the opposite party of the person being replaced making the appointment.
U.S. Senator John McCain says that Scalia's replacement should be chosen by the next president, not President Barack Obama. But foundation law professor Robert Clinton disagrees.
So I think the Republican opposition to filling the vacancy is a dereliction of the responsibility under the Constitution of the Senate.
President Obama says he plans to announce his nomination soon.
President Obama not only has the right, he has the responsibility for appointing a replacement.
Until Scalia is replaced, there will be 8 justices on the Supreme Court for this session, which could lead to a tie vote of 4-4.
And letting the court go for an extended length of time without a ninth justice, since the court has generally had an odd number to prevent ties, would be irresponsible.
In the event of a tie, the lower court's ruling will stand. And for the cases that Justice Scalia voted on but have yet to be rendered, those may have to be reassigned.
If the justice seat is not filled at the time the decision is rendered, the earlier vote of the justice does not count.
If President Obama's appointment of a new justice is confirmed, this will be his 3rd selection for the Supreme Court. In the broadcast center, Sydney Glenn, Cronkite News.
Arizona lawmakers responded swiftly to Scalia's death over the weekend, offering condolences, but not weighing in on when to nominate a potential replacement. That leaves the outcome of numerous Supreme Court cases up in the air, including 2 affecting Arizona. The court has already agreed to hear cases including legislative redistricting, as well as a challenge to Obama's deferred deportation plan on illegal immigrants. For full multimedia coverage of the impact of Justice Scalia's death and the ongoing debate over the future of the Supreme Court, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Pope Francis continued his visit through Mexico this morning with a stop in the southern state of Chiapas. He held a mass that drew crowds of thousands from the indigenous community. Since his arrival in Mexico, the Pope has celebrated multiple masses, visited a pediatric hospital to bless and kiss children, and told crowds to have hope for the future of their country.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers from Arizona are headed to El Paso to help with massive crowds expected during the Pope's visit. CBP will keep all lanes open to traffic for visitors who want to cross into Mexico to see the Pope. Authorities expect some delays because many of the people crossing the border for the Mass are not familiar with the process.
Brought agents from throughout the country, northern borders, as well as South Texas and Laredo, Arizona and California. So they've sent officers our way to ensure that we do keep the lanes open.
Security will be tight, schools closed, and traffic rerouted for Pope Francis's visit. As Cronkite News reporter Chloe Nordquist shows us, neighborhoods and businesses blocks from the border will feel the biggest impact.
Most days, shoppers from Mexico fill South El Paso Street, just a block from the border crossing. But soon there will be crowds of pilgrims heading into Mexico to see the Pope.
On Wednesday, most of the shops here are not going to open, since most of the owners are either religious or mostly because of traffic and not a lot of people are going to come.
Just a few streets away, the historic neighborhood Segundo Barrio will be completely blocked off.
People are so excited. They're going to come out in droves.
Local residents will be able to hear the Pope's message from Mexico from across the border. However, they will not be able to see him. Local shops in the area will also be closed.
We're gonna have the day off, but we're not gonna get paid. So, and then the business is gonna be closed. Obviously, it's gonna affect the business.
Police are restricting access to the neighborhood.
The only way to get in and out is you're going to have a pass, and that it's only for the residents that live here. And they're expecting probably thousands of people to jam every nook and cranny that you see in this neighborhood.
Sister cities El Paso and Juarez only had 9 weeks to plan for the Pope's border visit.
There was concern that nobody really knows how many people are going to be coming into El Paso, if it's going to be 500,000, 100,000, 10,000, 5,000, nobody really knows. So there was a precaution about those areas being flooded with people wanting to see the Pope or hear him from the American side.
Families living in Segundo Barrio will be listening from their backyards. In El Paso, Chloe Nordquist, Cronkite News.
As an alternative, the El Paso Diocese is hosting a live two-way broadcast of the Pope's Mass at the Sun Bowl, where the Pope will bless the crowd on the U.S. side of the border. For our week-long continuing coverage on the Pope's border visit, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
February has been synonymous with Black history for decades, but over the weekend, hundreds gathered to celebrate the successes and learn about the issues facing a more specific community. Cronkite News reporter Audrey Wheel attended the 5th Annual African American Conference on Disabilities, which kicked off a weekend of events celebrating Black History, Deaf Black History Month.
The conference covered a wide range of topics. The biggest issue at hand, justice in the Black deaf community, when some say that cultural barriers combined with communication barriers can make a fair legal process nearly impossible.
The large issue that I've seen mostly in the criminal legal system is a lack of understanding cultural competence about deaf culture, deaf communication, or even Black culture, Black deaf culture.
Talila Lewis founded the country's first and only national database for deaf prisoners, and she spent the past decade investigating possible wrongful conviction cases.
A lot of these cases I don't have physical evidence showing, but I can show you that they couldn't communicate with their defense counsel, they couldn't communicate with the judge, they couldn't communicate with law enforcement, and to me that should be more than sufficient to reopen a case.
In her keynote speech, she mentioned several wrongfully convicted individuals who have been exonerated. And while that's the goal, she says fighting for even the little things is a struggle.
Deaf prisoners are completely isolated. I've been working for 4 years lobbying the Federal Communications Commission, the Department of Justice, just to get video phones in our prisons. Video phones are free.
But those who attended the conference said the crux of the issue transcends race and ability, that it's a basic human right.
Bottom line is access to communication. We don't have the ability to equally participate in a variety of aspects of life.
If we're unable to communicate what our needs are, what our concerns are, what our desires are, then our lives are not as full as they should be. And certainly if you're in prison, and particularly wrongfully, then that impact is even greater.
The Department of Corrections says only 12 Arizona prisoners are deaf, and they're able to request certain accommodations, like a sign language interpreter. In the Media Center, Audrey Wheel, Cronkite News.
Sustainability Fun Month kicks off today.
Coming up on Cronkite News, which fun activities are open to the public and why hundreds of businesses and advocates from around the world are here talking about the future of sustainability.
No, there is no such thing as President's Day. Absolutely not.
The state of Virginia believes today belongs only to one president. We'll take you inside a different type of presidential debate.
We are here tonight to explore tough issues You've got to have people around you who aren't just laying rose petals in front of your way. And I kid you not, this is true.
Trust is everything.
This has been so much fun.
It's about reaching people.
There are more players on the world stage. The issues are more complex.
We ask the questions that take us closer to the truth.
What happened and what might happen.
Because that's what we do.
Would you like doing something like I do?
I couldn't do this. I'm not qualified.
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
All this month, you and your family can learn how to be more green. Today, members of ASU's School of Sustainability were at the Arizona Science Center for the 3rd annual Family Day. As Lillian Simpson reports, with some simple steps, you can help save the planet.
What does it mean to be involved in sustainability? And then what can they do?
Impact was the main goal at the Sustainability Solutions Festival at the Arizona Science Center today.
It always comes down at the end, what choices do I make? What choices do you make? What choices do people in the community make? But the idea of doing things at the individual level applies all over the planet.
Students like Nicolas were presented ASU's Walton Sustainable Award at the Arizona Region Future City competition. At the Arizona Science Festival, they were able to share their projects with spectators.
We chose it because the theme this year is waste management system. So we had to come up with an innovative way to create a waste management system that would not produce any, that was green and efficient.
And maybe these young scientists and engineers will have the next big idea to make our world more sustainable. In Phoenix, Lillian Simpson, Cronkite News.
The Sustainability Solutions Festival will continue throughout the next 2 weeks for residents to get involved at different Valley events. The next event will be Thursday at the ASU Tempe campus with a focus on global environmental change and urbanization.
In a wish list hundreds of pages long, President Obama laid out his budget proposals for next year. Cronkite News reporter Lauren Clark, found out how a little-known fund could have a big impact on Arizona's parks.
The Saguaro National Forest, the Agua Fria Monument, and Scottsdale's newly iconic Indian Bend Wash. All 3 of these Arizona parks have been aided through the little-known Land Water Conservation Fund. The money coming from oil and gas royalties supports the upkeep of both federal and local parks.
The Land and Water Conservation Fund needs to be fully funded at $900 million annually and permanently reauthorized.
And it's a wish that may finally be granted. The president's proposed budget included $900 million for this fund. But to Representative Paul Gosar, who sits on the National Resources Committee, the fund is a good idea gone wrong. He says instead of truly helping communities, it's a way for the feds to gobble up local land and appease special interest groups.
You know, the federal government owns an awful lot of land, particularly out west, and they don't need to be buying up a lot more.
In fact, 40% of the state is owned by the federal government. And in Prescott, Gosar said that number jumps to 95%. This could be problematic because local cities can have less of a say of what happens to this land or resources. Instead, he says the fund needs to go
back to the states. The states know better. I mean, when people live and have to take care of it, they're the better stewards.
But Nagel argues the funding is just a small slice and a huge return of benefits.
Because mayors know that parks and outdoor space is critical for the health of their cities.
Reporting in Washington, Lauren Clark, Cronkite News.
Now to a different type of presidential debate. Just outside the nation's capital, some Virginia residents are claiming this President's Day holiday to honor only one president. Cronkite News reporter Samantha Witherwax joins us live to explain.
You might not know it from the ads, but Congress officially rejected the name President's Day when it approved the holiday 48 years ago. In George Washington's hometown, they're still fighting that fight today.
Welcome to Alexandria, and this is our February. I gotta go welcome the crowd now.
For most of the country, the third Monday in February is known as President's Day. But don't tell that to the people of Alexandria, Virginia.
No, there is no such thing as President's Day. Absolutely not.
It is known here as George Washington's birthday, but Joe Schumer is certain that the holiday is not called President's Day.
The holiday, which was actually not approved by Congress until the mid-19th century, is George Washington's Day. That's what it's called. So there's no such thing as President's Day. That was a made-up holiday when they kind of combined the celebrations of Lincoln's birthday, which was February 12th, with Washington's birthday, which is February 22nd.
Schumer is the chairman of the George Washington birthday celebration, which typically includes the annual parade that was started back in the 1800s, as well as the Friendship Breakfast.
But the parade's a big deal. It's the largest parade in Alexandria. It's the largest parade in the world that celebrates George Washington's birthday. So we're very proud of that.
Although the parade was canceled due to the snow, that didn't damper the spirits of some.
Let it be known that we are gathered here today at last.
Even the town crier believes that this day is George Washington's Day.
He's our native son. He lived just down the road in Mount Vernon, so he's an Alexandrian. So that's it's George Washington's birthday.
While Alexandria clings to Washington's birthday, at Washington's home of Mount Vernon, they had planned President's Day celebrations today, but they were also canceled due to the snow. In Washington, Sammy Witherwax, Cronkite News.
It's a reality of all contact sports. Injuries can occur.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how concussions are being handled in ice hockey, especially at a young age.
And Arizona's professional hockey team is hoping fans will trade up their old fan gear. Learn how you could score a free Coyotes jersey.
In the middle of rather a drama.
I've been thinking about the circumstances of the crime and the nature of love.
It's romantic. Is it? Isn't it?
Seems to me as if the answer is right in front of you.
I'm a high-functioning sociopath.
Gotta stay true.
You are being irrational.
My morals got me on my... Need to go.
Will you do a blood test?
No.
You want to hit me now?
I don't know what this is, but you got me good, just like you do. Do you think that makes me a wicked woman, sister?
Will the prisoner rise?
There is only one thing I would like.
Pain.
Sex?
Heartbreak.
Or love? Oh, yummy. Stop it! Papa? Is everything all right in there?
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
Two ASU alumni finished 1 and 2 at the U.S. Olympic Marathon team trials over the weekend in Los Angeles. Amy Cragg, a 10-time All-American at ASU, and Desiree Linden, a 3-time All-Conference runner for ASU, are the first 2 Americans from the same alma mater to qualify for the Olympic Marathon in the same year.
I worked really, really hard for the last 4 years to move up one position. And I'm so excited to get out there and represent the United States in Rio.
Super happy to be on another team. You know, can't take these things for granted at all. I'm thrilled to get to put on another USA uniform and hopefully do it proud this time.
Cragg and Linden will represent Team USA at the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio. Cronkite News will have a team of journalists covering the team and other Arizona-related stories at the games that begin on August 5th.
When the topic of concussions arise, football often comes to mind. But are concussions a serious problem in other sports? Reporter Blake Bernard looks at youth ice hockey and its connection to the head injury.
The physicality of ice hockey is extremely intense, and recently that has led to rule changes and increased awareness in youth hockey leagues.
It's a real hot topic nowadays.
It's nerve-wracking at times.
Concussions in ice hockey are nearly as common as high school football, and just as dangerous.
You're always exposed. You could be falling down and a guy comes to hit you in the shoulder and he hits you in the head instead.
A recent study published in the Journal of Pediatrics showed that younger adolescents who play ice hockey suffer from concussion symptoms for a much longer period than more physically mature players.
Their brains are developing, their bodies are developing.
This concern has led to USA Hockey changing rules in recent years, specifically raising the body checking age from 11 to 13.
Up until 5 years ago, they'd start their checking at 11. So that's been a big difference.
One place youth hockey players need to be incredibly careful is up against the boards. A lot of times they're checked and they crash into the surface. And when it's done drastically enough, it can lead to concussions. Following a big hit, if a player comes to the bench and is dizzy or nauseated, that is a huge red flag.
Any type of mention of any of those symptoms after the contact, that player is done for that session and typically will go get concussion tested.
Prolonged issues can arise if a player comes back too soon.
Any parent that would let their kid go back in shouldn't be a parent. It's something you go to a legitimate doctor and you make sure that all the symptoms are gone for a certain length of time.
And coaches should also be on the alert.
The biggest thing that coaches can do to help with the recovery process for concussions is sticking to the rule of if there's a concussion suspected, that there's no same-day return to play.
Following baseline testing at places like the Banner Concussion Center, the player typically experiences limited action on the ice for a week or two before finally returning to contact play. In the broadcast center, Blake Bernard, Cronkite News.
While safety is a concern, the Arizona Coyotes are hoping to encourage youth to keep watching the sport. The Coyotes have struggled with their fan base in part because a large percentage of Arizona residents grew up out of state and continue to cheer for their hometown teams. The Coyotes are trying to grow that fan base with a new program launched on Friday that targets younger fans. Part of Raising Coyotes program, older fans can exchange a jersey from another active NHL team for a youth replica Coyotes jersey. The jerseys traded in will be donated to the nonprofit organization Defending the Blue Line, which encourages military children to participate in the game of hockey.
We thought, wow, those kids need to grow up rooting for the Arizona Coyotes, for their hometown team. So we want to give parents the opportunity to let their kids grow up rooting for the hometown team the same way that they did when they were growing up.
The program will continue through the team's next home games tonight and Saturday.
A popular Japanese cartoon character has her own vehicle and made its way to the Valley this weekend.
Coming up on Cronkite News, why this pink food truck caused hundreds to travel to Scottsdale.
Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone. Would you believe me if I said we are here for a reason now? This is our life. This is what counts. This is for us. I will go anywhere for you.
A nationally popular food truck stopped by in the Valley this weekend. Cronkite News reporter Alexis Dominguez found out why residents flocked to this Hello Kitty themed truck.
We got engaged at the Japanese National American Museum in LA during the Super Cute World of Hello Kitty Museum exhibit.
Hello Kitty fanatics were out in Scottsdale this weekend waiting to get their chance to experience the Hello Kitty Cafe truck.
I'm a diehard Hello Kitty fan. I have been since I was 3.
Stacey Mae Simpson came all the way from Mesa and arrived at Scottsdale Quarter at 7 a.m. just to be one of the first in line for the Hello Kitty Cafe truck. When asked what she loved most about Hello Kitty, she said she loved everything.
I went to Hello Kitty Con. I went to the Super Cute Friendship Festival. They always bring something new to the table.
The driver of this truck, Allan T., says the fans love the truck and always come out when they hear the truck is coming to a city near them.
We like to relate the Hello Kitty truck to a unicorn. You know, you don't always see it, and it only comes to every city once.
Hello Kitty fans Stephanie and Susan say they have been waiting for this day for 6 months.
We're here today because we went to Hello Kitty Con last year in LA,
We loved
it.
Kitty.
We loved it. We loved it. We had the best time. We were there for the whole day. We bought $1 million worth of merchandise, and that's why we're here today, because we want to buy more.
The food truck has a variety of sweet treats that feature Hello Kitty's face and a signature bow.
Today we have Petit Four mini cakes. They're an almonds-based mini cake that go great with tea or coffee. We have our French macaroons, our cookie set. We also have our bow water bottles, t-shirts, and mugs.
When asked what Hello Kitty themed pastry she wanted, Lauren said she was not going to hold back.
I'm probably getting, well, one of everything on the truck and hopefully something to add to my collection.
There are Hello Kitty stores and shops across the world, but there is only one Hello Kitty food truck. In Scottsdale, Alexis Dominguez, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we'll look at how the local commercial real estate market is shaping up for this year, and we'll learn about an art restoration project at the Heard Museum. That's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, a look at widespread distrust among many in Baltimore for that city's famous hospitals. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.